Thank you for watching The Christian View, where we are discussing normalizing pedophilia. It's the times that we're living in. And this segment, we're going to discuss more about child pornography. Cameron, while child pornography remains the legal term for this material, the subject matter is one of the most violent, horrific forms of child abuse possible. And it's starting to be referred to as child sexual abuse material. Now, come on, we know that the internet has made this so easy.
Yeah, you know, because of the rise of the internet, you're dealing with now what has been, you know, behind closed doors and what people just talk about, you know, in the dark. Now it's just right in your face. You don't even have to go look for it. It comes to you. And so now you're dealing with about 25 million images, you know, per year, which is like 500,000 per day.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine what kind of filth that we are allowing ourselves, our children, you know, that we're getting involved in? And I think, again, because of it being not only in our laptops, but on our phones, the minute that you turn it on, you're being bombarded, and that's part of what's happening with the whole psyche of America.
It's a $3 billion industry.
No, the saddest part is 18% of the content is produced by the parent.
It's produced by the parents, and you know, even though it's a global phenomenon, but you're still dealing with America being the highest proponent of all of what's going on, and so we end up exporting more of the problem than anybody else in the world.
Isn't that? You know Carol Swain, who was on our program the first season. She's a Fox News contributor. She had recently on the internet an article about professors and teachers who have been caught with child, I don't know if you all saw that, with child porn on their computer. And I clicked on the article thinking, you know, it would be 10 or 12. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. All over America, in every university, every school imaginable.
Usually by the time we start hearing about it or us thinking about it, it's already everywhere.
Recently, the FBI shut down a site that was getting 1 million hits a month. And you just have to ask yourself, what is the problem? What is going on here that seems attractive and appealing?
25% is videoed or the pictures taken by your neighbors or your friends.
And then it just pops up, like you said, on your phone through an email or a picture, and it's scary because your children
have control of it, doesn't it?
Right, and the kids have our phones, and so it pops up in it. So that's why it can start.
That's
so young for not
come into play.
The filters come into play, and for to a certain extent, those things help. But the bottom line is that there are so many avenues now, and so much of the hacking that's being done that even when you're not attempting to be a part of that, you can't help the fact that now it has to be retroactive in the sense of you're given the opportunity to have to say no as opposed to saying yes, I want to do it.
We have to think as Christians, we've got to get to the heart of what's really going on. And I think the issue is really, you know, it's an attack of the enemy, and it's an attack on our children. The Bible teaches us that the thief comes to steal and to kill. So he starts in on our children while they're young, they're impressionable, and that is a way where you can know wrong thoughts. We get wrong thoughts in people's minds and wrong thoughts in their hearts. And then with children, you know, they learn what they live. So if we put these practices within them, then they start to believe and think that these are normal practices, and then they grow up, and unfortunately, then they repeat the cycle.
They're like desensitized.
You know, Jesus said it'd be better that a millstone be tied around your neck.
Rebecca, think how sick this is. Little Trudy, your little son is here today, who I just love so much. He's 13?
14.
He's 14 years old. Okay. 18% of the content stemming from online is from online enticement. That is like Trudy just playing on the internet and someone coming in, friending him, becoming his friend, becoming his friend on Facebook, and enticing him into doing these things.
That's right. That's why it's so important as parents that we stay engaged and we're constantly talking to them. And
I think we need to
keep in a check.
You have to be very careful.
And inform them. And like Jonathan, he'll get these weird phone calls and things come up. I'm like, who is this? He goes, I don't know. So last night he got one, and Brian answered it. And the person, you could see the person on his because it was FaceTime. He instantly hung up when he saw Brian's face. But we have to be proactive, and we have to be engaging because it can happen in an instant. And like you said, I mean, it can take root. And if we're not careful, it'll start to.
You know, think about it, Trudy. We don't think anything about when we post our beautiful little grandchildren and our beautiful little girl, and our beautiful little babies, and how precious they are. We don't think about the evil that's lurking and watching.
Yeah. And you know, another point is like we're talking about the extreme of child pornography, but if you think about the way the modeling industry, advertisers, I mean, these girls and guys are 14, 15 years old being made up to look like women and attractive men. So, you know, it's a subtle message even when it's not the worst of the worst.
It's a training, and you have to understand that's like we are training ourselves. We are training society to actually fulfill this, and we have to take the responsibility of understanding that we're the ones that are really turning ourselves into these, if you want to say, whether it's the desire or whether it's the monstrosity of abuse, but we're the ones that are actually fulfilling it and doing it to ourselves.
And you want to be an activist, but it seems like you'd have to spend your whole life, you know, fighting political decisions, fighting advertisers, and I just feel like the information to really, when you see an ad that you're very opposed to, the information to really get to the person or the company that put it out seems hard to get to, and you just sort of accept it, and you're like, oh, that was gross, but you don't really do anything about
We
it.
have to change the mindset. I remember, you know, years ago, I was working for DFAX here, even in Georgia, and that was one of the reasons why I left, because some of the things that, as being a CPS, which is a Child Protective Services worker, going out and investigating cases. The last case that I went to involved sexual molestation of a baby, and it was like the baby was only 10 months old, and the graphic, you know, horrific things that were done to this child really made me question, you know, and I said my convictions, I can't do this anymore.
Well, that's why as people of God, we have to understand that our place is to change a soul, to change a heart. Until we do that, there's really nothing, because we're not handling it from the core.
We can't change it. We can't. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to be discussing pedophilia among the priesthood. Stay with us.